Welcome to another week of the Power Rankings, week 6. We missed the last 2 weeks since I was on my travels to the UK, but I'm back in Canada and back here talking about all good things Power Rankings with my co-host Byron. And we'll start though with the Monday Night Football, which was it was a really fun one actually, down in Duval, where Jacksonville, specifically Trevor Lawrence, stumbled, fell down, got up, stumbled again, and somehow got into the end zone to yes, for the Jags to win 31-28 against the Kansas City Chiefs at home. It was a big win. Jacksonville goes to 4-1, 3 on at home, while the Chiefs go to 2-3. But yeah, what's your overall summary of the game? And it was a big win for them.
Yeah, wild one. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence's birthday, turned 26 yesterday and celebrated with a stumble Ruski. I was delighted for them. I've kind of taken the Jags as, I think every year I always have like one or two little like favorite teams. Last year it was the Seahawks with Geno. This year, even before the draft, I've kind of been in on the Jags as being like a team I want to watch and kind of like root for. I really like Liam Cohen as an OC. I like he's kind of got a spunky attitude, how we showed with Robert Saleh last week. And yeah, I've just enjoyed like kind of their development. Love Brian Thomas coming into the year. Trevor Lawrence, I think, needs to be more like he was yesterday. Like it was far from perfect, but he just needs to embrace the chaos of it. Liam Cohen's going to get you in good spots. The defense is playing out of their minds in Jacksonville. I don't have the actual number annoyingly, but they lead the league in takeaways. I think it's up to 11 on the season through 5 weeks. Devin Lloyd's 99-yard pick 6 was just what they needed to turn the tide of that game back onto them. They got a little unfortunate. Maybe not unfortunate. The calls went the right way, but Trevor Lawrence fumbles on the goal line trying to do the Matthew Stafford, the Drew Brees, raise over the goal line, and a great play. I believe it was Nick Bolton who just smacked the ball out of his hands as it was getting there. And, you look at it on replay, and it's just the right call, I think. But, if you're a Jags fan or a Jags player, you're probably feeling a little, we could have maybe just got that one. Travis Kelce scored on a pick play that was just about within the yard of scrimmage. So, again, it probably was just the right call. But, again, you can understand feeling aggrieved if you're at home and you kind of would like a little rub of the green, as the Chiefs often seem to get. But I thought to come back from 14-0 down, I thought that showed real character from Jacksonville. A team who hasn't been in big spots for a long time. 2017, I think, was the AFC Championship game with the Patriots. And since then, they've kind of been the butt of the league, really. 2 first picks in that time. They were out one of them yesterday, Travion Walker. And it showed at times, but I think on defense, that spirit came through, held Kansas City 28 points. And I'm so glad that, we're not, obviously we've mentioned the calls gone in favor of the Chiefs, which were correct calls, but the one big call that did go against Jacksonville, the DPI, has ended up being irrelevant in the game because they won. So I'm glad that we're not dragging the referees as like the main talking point of that game, which I think had the Chiefs edged that game out, I think probably would have done. But yeah, I was just really, really delighted for Jacksonville. On Trevor Lawrence's birthday, like I said, good way to turn 26 in style. Monday Night Football, get his cake, and yeah, 4-1 atop the division with the Colts.
Yeah, it's certainly, I think the biggest compliment I can give them this year is that I think if they were 14-0 down to the Chiefs in the last few years, that would have been it. I don't think this Jacksonville team would have come back. Obviously, that touchdown when, you have the fumble, you drive down, and like, I thought Trevor Lawrence had a good game, but he has these moments where he just like protect the ball a little bit better. And I know it was a fantastic play, but it seems like it never happens to anyone else. It feels like a lot of times, but it happens to Trevor. And then the Chiefs just drive down 97 yards in 5 plays. You think, oh, this game could be over. And that was a huge drive, the 13 plays, 70 yards, and a lot of scrambles from Lawrence. I think that's he needs to do that a little bit more. Obviously, slide down when he should, because I feel like he's always you always worry when he takes a big hit. That is like, oh, is this going to be a year with Trevor missing a few games, which has happened in the last few years. So I think that was huge. Yeah, and obviously a big turning point was that interception. That was massive. And yeah, he looked like he was carrying a few bricks by the end of it, just willing him to get over that line. It felt like the Chiefs guy caught up to him, and then he had suddenly just slowed down as well. And it felt like he was too tired. It just pushed. Yeah, it just felt like he just pushed him in like, oh, I'm just too tired to even try and tackle. So obviously, yeah, the Jags are, compared to last year, I know they've got a lot more turnovers than they did the whole of last year already, and that's huge. It's huge for a team where, you've got to win these games when that happens.
Yep.
Because what you don't want to do is be a team get all of these turnovers and lose. They did against the 49ers, they had 3 or 4 and just scraped out that victory. They've done it here against Nice. So it's a good winning team. There's a few little bits like that last touchdown drive where, again, Trevor Lawrence had a few nail passes, especially the Brian Thomas one. But then he has the delay of game, and it's just little things like that. You're at home, and yeah, it's fine now. That's why I just worry about them in, if it gets to the playoffs and that kind of thing is where that kind of thing is why the Chiefs are always in the AFC, always in the Super Bowl, and teams like the Jags are not, because it's that kind of mistakes. Obviously, it worked out tonight. But yeah, they just got to keep on going. I think on the flip side, I was actually impressed with the Chiefs, especially on offense. I think that's probably the best they've played on offense this year. You can see where they're going with this, especially with Werber being back. And they've still got, obviously, Rice to come back as well, I think he's clear their number 1 wide receiver. So having Rice, Worthy, Hollywood Brown had some good catches, Juju. I think Kelsey's getting a few more catches. I think Tyquan Thornton's going to be there, maybe the 4th, 5th, and he's catching bombs down the way, and Rashad Smith caught a few as well. So I think there's some positives to look on the Chiefs side. Obviously, you don't want to keep losing at 2 and 3, and I think they've got a huge game against the Lions next week. They could go 2 and 4. Obviously, it helps that their division feels like the AFC itself. There's quite a few big hitters who are not doing well, so I think they'll still be fine. And the fact they managed to, they managed to look good on offense. Obviously, you would like it to be a little bit better on defense. I felt like, especially Trevor running, got them going, and there was a few big players. But I think there's positives on Chiefs' side as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't bury the Chiefs based on last night, certainly. And yeah, I love Trevor Lawrence using his wheels. Couldn't agree more. Like, that was something he did in college a lot, and it's something that I've been screaming out for, especially if you're a fantasy football player. Like, he can clearly run. Same as Justin Herbert. The two of them, you can throw the ball. I mean, Herbert better than Lawrence, but you can also run. Like, I don't know why they don't take off more often. It's such an easy 10 yards. Mahomes is really the blueprint for it. Not the most superior of athletes, but Mahomes, he picks his spots so well. Got another touchdown yesterday. That was one of our bets. I think it's 7-2 for anytime touchdown. And he just keeps hitting week on week because he's the best rusher, which is a bit of a indictment on the rest of the running backs. But again, if you're smart and you pick your spots, there's no reason why you can't hit. And I think, if the Jags are in a playoff game, I don't know how I'd feel about them. It depends who they're playing, where they're playing, etc. But the one thing I take a lot of kind of hope for them for is, like, this is only 5 games through for Liam Cohen, and he already seems to have got involved with changing that culture of, we are winners, we can win games. His post-game thing in the dressing room last night was, a lot of it was like, doesn't win feel good? It's like, I'm sure it does after however many years being in Jacksonville, and again being the butt, picking in the top 5 year on year out. Yeah, I'm really excited to see where they go. Yeah,
I think the next 2 games are got the Seahawks, Rams, which both at home. They got 3 games at home. So, the Rams game's in London, isn't it? So that makes sense. So that was last 2. Yeah, exactly. They're both big games. Let's see if they can continue that. I think if they go 1-1, I think that's an awesome start. I think what I would like them to do when they've got the Raiders afterwards, do what the Colts do and just beat these bad teams. And I think, can't wait for. So they've got Colts week 17 and week 14. Obviously, they're going to be a huge game. It makes this AFC South exciting because I still think the Texans can find their way back, and having a free team battling that out, I think it makes it for a really exciting division. And I would like to see what would happen if they play a game where there's, obviously this is stupid to say, but when there's no turnovers from the defense, then Trevor Lawrence pull it through and win it. Shout out for the bets in. So you and Paul hit both of the bets. So Paul had over 46.5 points, which was a nice hit. It was close to his Juju Smith. I think he had over 2.5 reception, 20 plus receiving yards. He got 2 for 17, so probably needed 1 more. Yeah. And you hit with your Patrick Mahomes anytime touchdown scorer again. So 72. It's just
every week.
easiest money. I went big on Worthy before I knew how injured he was, but he still had a decent game. But obviously would change that. So yes, that's Monday Night Football. It's nice to just have one this week to focus on and not go.
We're back to 2 next week, right?
I think it might be 2 again next week. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, it's a weird week again.
Yeah. Right, let's dive into our power rankings for week 6. There's been lots of changes, lots of big movements. I think this is the week where, especially you, Byron, you're very different to what me and Paul's got. I feel like me and Paul's been similar, but let's just run through this. So we have a new number 1 in our power rankings. It goes to the Detroit Lions, who go up 2 spots, number 1. The Bills drop 1 spot to number 2. The Buccaneers go up 6 spots to number 3 after that good victory, the great victory against the Seahawks. The Eagles dropped 2 after the loss against the Broncos to number 4. The Rams dropped 1 to 5. The Jags, who we just talked about, move up 2 spots. The Packers, who on bye, stay the same. And finally, the Colts have joined the first page. They are number 8 after an awesome start to the year, moving up 3 spots. Let's just dive into that number. The Lions going to number 1. I feel this was a fairly easy decision on my part. I was disappointed with the Eagles, and I think the Bills game is showed that they're not on point. I think obviously the Lions had the big defeat in week 1, but I think week after that they've just been, you couldn't have asked for any better. How come you had him number 1 going up a couple of spots to beat the Bills?
Yeah, kind of agree really. A very rough week 1, and I think we acted appropriately. That they got the butt kicked by the Packers. There was changes with the coordinators. You don't quite know what you're going to get when that happens. But we shouldn't have wrote... I don't know if we wrote them off by any means, but you never write off my coach, Dan Campbell. He will come out swinging. He's such a great leader of that team that they've just completely turned it around, destroyed the Bears, beat the Ravens, I don't want to say comfortably, but by 8 points, smashed the Browns, smashed the Bengals. It's just exactly what the Dan Campbell Lions are. Take care of business. Big games coming up, though. They've got the Chiefs Sunday Night Football, I believe. It might be Monday Night Football, but I think it's Sunday Night Football. Then the Bucks, then the Vikings, who I'm still, I think, higher than a lot of people on. I have a middle of the park. I mean, I'm certainly not got them in the top 10, but I still think the Vikings caused trouble. So I think those 3 games, and then that Commanders at Eagles. So but especially the next 2 weeks, Chiefs, Bucks will hopefully I'll say, because I like rooting for the Lions. I like Dan Campbell. Hopefully cements them at number 1, because I do think my overreaction this week was: is there any great teams left in the NFL? This feels like a really weird year to me, where I think I'm going to be fluid all year with my power rankings until things really settle for me. Because I don't feel like I've got a great grasp on. I've got a real good grasp on which teams are really bad. And there's a fair few of them. But I just don't have a huge grasp on which teams are really good. But the Lions lead the league in scoring. They have 174 points, 34.8 points a game. They're second in the league to the Colts on difference in points per game. But I think they faced a much harder, well, not much harder schedule, but they played a harder teams than the Colts have. And that's okay. I think the Colts are a good team, but I don't think anywhere near the Lions level as yet. So, that's why I have them at 1. And that's kind of it. I feel like the Bills get a little hamstrung kind of with their play calling and just relying on Josh Allen being hero all the time. I still have them at number 2. So, I don't want to make out that I'm down on the Bills by any means. But that's why I put the Lions above. I just trust them when it matters that they're going to get it done.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think we'll talk about, I think where we differentiate is certainly the Eagles and the Rams. There's a reason why they've dropped. So Paul had the Eagles at 3, same as me, and I had the Rams at 5 and Paul at 6. You had them 7 and 8. So how come you've got them, at the bottom end of the first page? Especially obviously the Eagles are 4 and 1. The Rams lost a close one to the 49ers and have slipped down to 8. And you've got a few teams jumping above them, like the Jags, the Colts, and someone else at 5.
Yeah,
Broncos.
I feel a bit harsh doing it with the Rams more than the Eagles, because even though the Eagles have got a better record, I hate what I see with the Eagles every single week. And while they were 4-0, it felt a lot harder to drop them anything, because if they're 4-0, how bad can they be? But I thought they were pretty appalling against the Broncos, especially in that second half, where it just looked like they didn't they didn't seem to know what to do when a team changed plans on them, and a team that's relatively similarly, stacked talent-wise. I think they've both got good lines on paper. I think they've both got good defenses. Skill weapons vary in ability, but in terms of utilization, the Broncos are getting much more out of them than the Eagles are. I do wonder if there's going to be an OC change in Philadelphia because, something's got to change. If that OC needs to learn how to do his job really quickly, the players are going to have to stop listening to him, or they're going to have to change if they want to succeed this year, because it just looks like such hard work for them to achieve anything on offense. And that just can't be the case when, their all line on paper is a top 5 in the league. It should be. The offense should be ticking. It should be flowing. It looks like they don't trust Jalen Hurts to play quarterback, and they don't want him to run the ball either. I'm not quite sure what they're wanting Jalen Hurts to do. But whatever it is, it isn't working. The Rams is, to me, much more... They shouldn't be losing that game to the 49ers. And again, I've been as high as anybody on the Rams all preseason, coming into the season. They're one of my favorite division bets of the year when they were 2-1 to win the NFC West. And I kind of hated... I just don't understand how you lose that game. It was a great coaching performance by Kyle Shanahan. I still have them just above the 49ers overall. Mm-hmm. But to give that game away, I just thought is almost criminal, because in a division that's going to be tight, you can't afford to throw away home games to your biggest rivals. And it just really stung me. The defense just in no way could stand up to Jake Tonges, Kendrick Bourne, and Mac Jones. And that's a real issue. The 49ers, I don't think, are a great team, but again, said it on the podcast yesterday, when Kyle Shanahan's going for his coach of the year, trying to rally for it this year, which I think he should be in contention for with the injuries they've suffered already. And it is a young team as well. This isn't your 49ers from 3 or 4 years ago who were, destroying the division. If Kyle Shanahan wins coach of the year, I think this game should be high up on that list of, we love Sean McVay, he's an incredible coach, but Kyle Shanahan, I think, coached him around in circles on Thursday night.
Yeah, I think Shanahan certainly has something one up on McVay. Does win a lot of games against him. Obviously not the NFC Championship where, that dropped interception still haunts me. But yeah, I kept the Eagles fairly high. Just talk about them two teams, just because the players they've got, and I know they're going through something right now, and I think they are a winning team and they have that mentality. And I still think the defense is still good, and I think that all their talent on offense, I feel like they're going to change it around. So they're still high in my power ranking. I think they're going to come through this. Same with the Rams. I've got them higher than the 49ers just because, it was a Thursday night football. Weird things happen that, Shanahan's got this thing over McVay. Yep. But I think every defense in this league, I don't think there's one defense where you're like, oh, that's a shutdown defense. No one can, go at will. I don't think there is the one this year. I felt like there was a couple last year, but this year right now there's not. So I don't mind the 49ers going over the Rams. But I think what the Rams have is when the offense just turns on, I don't think there's anyone who can stop them. And it's one of the top offenses. I think they were just slow to start with. Obviously, there were a couple of fumbles. There was 2 fumbles and, a few weird stuff going on. But when Stafford wanted to go, he went. So that's why I'm still got trust. And, they've probably got the best 1-2 maybe in the league, certainly up there anyway. So, I kept them at 5. And I just trust them a little bit more than teams. Like the Jags, maybe I'm higher. But, there's just... I still want to see from the Jags. I think it's been a great start, but I just, especially when it's it's all on Trevor. Who am I going to trust? All on Stafford with his cast, or all on Lawrence? And obviously proved me wrong last night to drive down against the Chiefs. But I continue that. And I just give a shout out to the Colts. I've just been super impressed with them. Coming into this year, I think we all had them dead and buried. We'll think the head coach might get sacked. Obviously going with Daniel Jones, and it just didn't feel like they had a great team. But now you look at it, it's they've got the wide receivers, it's solid all the way around. They've got, I don't think Pittman's a true number 1, but he's probably a 1B. Yeah. Maybe a high 2A. And the rest are all Bs around that kind of thing. And the defense has certainly come to show. Me and Paul had high hopes last year, especially for that line, and didn't produce. But this year it is. And Tre'Davious Ward, who I knew would be fantastic for them, has got in there and been one of the best free agents compared to some of the other teams who went big around there. So big shout out for the Colts, and I think the Packers staying at 7 just made sense with the bye. It's,
I think I'm lowest on the Packers, but that's one that I think Of the teams, like I say, I'm unsure who's great. I think the Packers, with the bye week, give Micah Parsons more time to settle. They're a team that I think could easily jump into that top 3.
Yeah, I hate a bye though. Week 5, that's the worst bye.
Yeah.
I hate when it's like your team. You're like, oh, they've got another 12 weeks before the playoffs, and cool. Let's move on to the second page. So, yeah, so I think it was a very strong top 8. The next one, I feel like this is going to change constantly throughout the year. I think there's a lot of yo-yo teams who have gone up, have gone down, and a bit everywhere. So we've got the 49ers moving up 6 spots to number 9. We've got the Broncos after the victory against the Eagles, moving up 2 to number 10. The Commanders moving up 2 to 11. The Seahawks after that defeat the Bucks, moving down 2 to 12. The Chiefs, who I think is the main yo-yo team who keeps going up and down, moved down 8 after that, even though we said maybe a moral victory, but moved down to 13. The Steelers on their bye remain the same at 14. The Chargers, who I think we've all gone and agreed with you now, Byron, have dropped down 9 spots to 15. And find the Vikings after that victory in London, move up 1 spot to 16. Right, I think we've talked about the 49ers at 9. I think Broncos is probably the one of the craziest difference, where I've got them 11, Paul 12. You've got them all the way up at number 5, going up mad spots, which I think was a great victory against the Eagles. But again, I don't like to yo-yo too much on one game.
I understand that, yeah. I had them already at 8 last week, so I was already higher than you guys have them still. So that's probably pretty telling. I think they could be 5-0 without much surprise. The Colts came to that the weird. It wasn't even roughing the kicker. It was like leveraging on the line, which is why that game swung in the Colts' favor. The Chargers lost by 3, but I would certainly pick them to beat the Chargers now. I know obviously that isn't how the season works, but I just think they're really they're very well constructed, the Broncos. The line's really good. They are top 7 in point differential on the season. Bo Nix is coming into his own a bit more now. He had a really rough start to the year, but I think he's been playing better the last couple of weeks. Helps when you play the Bengals, of course. And also, you're going to Philadelphia. I'm not going to say whoop them, but I don't think they were lucky to win that game by any means. I think Sean Payton's getting into his groove with a 2-point conversion call, which I thought was pretty ballsy, to be fair, because if he misses that and the Eagles go on to win the game, he's going to get some stick, as is always the way. We all are driven by results, not process. And yeah, I think the defense is improving as the season goes as well. So I would have them favorites for the division now. And yeah, I think 5. When you hear 5, I think that sounds high for the Broncos. But my biggest issue is that after the Lions and maybe the Bills, I'm still in that mode of you could really put the next up to maybe the Seahawks or even the Chiefs. You could probably put them in a bag and shake it up and put them out any which way, and it wouldn't sound too crazy to me. I mean, maybe if the Chiefs were top, I'd be a bit confused. But roughly, and also the healthy, which the Chargers certainly don't have. Full health again, which is what these teams don't have. If the Broncos lose half the starting offensive line, I'm sure they're going to move a long way down.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you said, I think we're like 5, 6 onwards to probably 13. I think they're going to jump up and down. I think, the Broncos, it was a strange one with Seahawks losing. So I had them at 10, I had Broncos 11. I still think Seahawks might be a better team. I think they were unlucky to lose that game against the Bucks. So obviously they moved down 2 spots, and the Commanders obviously move up as well with their victory. I think the Commanders and Seahawks, we've had them 10, 11, 12 between the 3 of us. And it's just how it worked out that you 2 had Commanders above the Seahawks. And the Chiefs is a weird one where I think last week they finished 5th because we all had them at 7 or 8. And just the other teams who were so varied. So it was just, I think the Chiefs' probably true spot was probably the 7 or 8 spot, but just how it worked out with some of the differences there, that it looks a big drop off, even though they I thought I had a good game against the Jags, but you 2 and 3. I think obviously next week, I think if they lose to the Lions, I'd probably keep them around the same mark for a team.
Yeah.
But obviously, if they beat the Lions, then they're going to go back up probably to the top 8 again. I think it is very up and down, and I'm hoping for stability at some point. But some of these losses, and I think the Chargers, that offensive line, I think that's just a worry now. Is that we talked about the number of pressures that I try and think of like if a team loses, is it easy fix? Is it like was it just that one game off?
Yep.
For like the Seahawks, for example, who lost where it could have gone either way and it was an
Mhm.
unlucky deflection, and Sam Darnold played amazing. And I think that defense is a good defense, but I think the Bucs got them at the right time and hit some great players. Same with the Chiefs, I think with the Broncos and Commanders even having Jane Daniels. With the Chargers, I don't see an easy fix.
No, they have traded today for Defi away from the Ravens, but I don't think that's going to be a game changer. I think that's just to give them some pass rushing depth.
Yeah, and the defense is not actually like the biggest issue. It's that offensive line. If your quarterback's getting pressured nearly half the time, it doesn't matter if it's Justin Herbert. If Hampton's gone down for 4 weeks now, he was looking like who'd you go, Vidal or
Haskins?
Yeah, Haskins. He's like, oh, okay, it's not looking great.
No,
I'm just watching the game as well. It just felt like a struggle, and defenses can, I think, are more up and down. I think the offense is you want it to be more consistent, and it was consistently good at the beginning now, but it's been constantly bad for like maybe the last 2 or 3 weeks. And that defense has like dropped off when they played the Commanders. So we'll see where they go next week.
They're at the Dolphins. If they don't turn it around next week, it's going to be a 5 alarm, I think, in Los Angeles, because that is not acceptable.
Quick fancy Haskins or Vidal would you push for? Because the Dolphins are terrible at.
Yeah, I would go Vidal just because I think he's got some explosion to him. I think Hampton is very, very ploddy. He's like a slow Najee Harris, which isn't a compliment, obviously. Yeah, I would go Vidal, but I wouldn't be, rushing to plug him in my lineup.
Yeah, it's not looking great for mine when my fantasy. I've got Hampton. I've got another running back. Oh, I had James Conner as well. So it's very IR central running back team. All right, let's move on to the next 8. No one wants to hear about fantasy, especially our own teams. Cool. So the Cowboys move up to 17, up 3 spots. The Patriots, after that huge win on Sunday Night Football, move up 5 spots to 18. The Falcons drop 1, even though they're on the bye at 19. The Texans move up 1 after their victory to 20. The Bears drop down 2 to 21. The Ravens drop down 6 to 22. The Cardinals, after that absolutely devastating loss, drop down 1 to 23. And finally, the Panthers, with their comeback against the Dolphins, up 3 to 24. Should we start with the Patriots, Baron? Because you had him a lot lower than you had him at 21. Paul had him at 16. I had him at 17. I was really impressed with Sunday Night Football, just how Drake May looked, how that team looked, how Diggs was looking like a true number 1. I think he's played a hell of a lot better than I expected. You still worry that it's Diggs and Hunter the main 2 targets, but they're getting away with it. That defense, I think, came to play. I thought Bills were going to just demolish them and make that statement like this is our division. But Paul put it in our group today that when you look at the Patriots' remaining fixtures, we were like, they could easily win 12, 13 games. There's not some of the big hitters we thought was going to be, the Bengals, see what the Ravens do. And a few other teams, you're like, this Patriots team could get to 12, 13 wins out of nowhere, which we wouldn't expect for the week. So I'm just wondering why you had them at 21 compared to me and Paul had them at slightly higher.
Yeah, I should probably have moved them up more, to be fair. I felt bad moving them ahead of the Bears and the Falcons who didn't play. And then I was like, do I really want to put them ahead of the Chargers, Texans, Cowboys? Maybe I should have done, but I think I think in a few weeks we'll see if they need to move up a lot because, they've got the Saints, Titans, Browns, Falcons the next few weeks. And I just kind of want to see it for a few weeks with them because, they have lost to the Steelers. They have lost to the Raiders already this year as well. But that is a new coach coming in. He's still in his culture. Great win on Sunday, but let's just see it next week. I think these can rise pretty comfortably as long as Drake May keeps improving as he goes. I'd love to see him bringing on another pass catcher, even if it's Trevion Henderson. Mm-hmm. I keep saying they should trade for T. Higgins. Still think they should, but if they can bring somebody along, I think that'll give me a lot more confidence. The O-line's playing better than it was to start the year by a lot as well. So yeah, I think they could be a jumper in the coming weeks. I just felt bad moving them ahead of teams on a bye who didn't get a chance to win this week.
Yeah, what's crazy, they should have really won that Steelers game as well. I think they outgained Steelers by loads and just turnovers. So like, they could have been 4-1, like joint with the Bills, which is crazy when coming into this year. But yeah, I agree with you. That's why I haven't got him in the top half yet. I just want to see, is he going to be next week? The loose of the Saints, where it's like, they're drinking their own Kool-Aid, and Kool-Aid starts intercepting them. So yeah. Do you want to chat about? Do you want to shout any out here, Byron, other than the Patriots on this page?
Not just the Ravens been terrible. It's pick. I think I cut out for a second there, sorry. But yeah, the Ravens are terrible. They're very soft. I'm glad everyone's noticing it and we're all on it now because, they were my Super Bowl pick coming into the season. I don't think that's going to hit. I can't believe how bad they are. I don't know what I thought would have had to happen for the Ravens to be 22. I guess Lamar Jackson being out. But even then, I thought they would be competitive, and they just are not in any way. But yeah, I think this is a solid group. I think there's a cut-off probably at the Bears, and below it's kind of like the dog teams, and above that is teams that could rise. I think, the Ravens, I'd be stunned if they make the... Well, maybe not the play. Yeah, I'd be stunned if they make the playoffs. I'm going to say it. I think it's Steelers now.
Yeah, I think when you look at the... I think that last time I saw there were still odds on to win the division, which was crazy. So I haven't given up. Yeah, I haven't given up on them yet. They just need to get that to that bye, and we'll see. But yeah, definitely, there's a lot of teams which we've already like maybe scratched out, especially in the AFC. There's probably a good 6 teams you could be like, they've got no chance already after 5 weeks, and it's a big group. But the NFC is a bit more competitive. But yeah. Just talked about the Cardinals there. I've gone down 23. Just after a devastating loss. Obviously, everything's coming out with what happened on the sideline. Their schedule when like looking at it, because in my head, it's the NFC West. Everyone's got an easy schedule, but when you look at it, it's like, they might only be favored to 1 or 2 games. So not trusting him already. It's like, what did they do? I like Gannon as a head coach. I think he's done well the first 2 years, but it is a results business, and we'll see what happens. But I feel the more curious one is Kyler Murray. I was curious if the season goes downhill, probably not now, but in the off season, a team who's just like needing a quarterback just offers a first rounder for Kyler. That could be interesting to see what he could get. But they'll probably stick with him, but like most teams do. But yeah. And then shout out the Panthers for jumping up. But again, it doesn't feel like they deserve to be 24th. It's just all the teams I'm going to read out afterwards is way below us. So this is the basement. So we've got the Giants, disappointing loss. The Saints dropped down 1 to 25. The Saints, who got that victory, Spencer Rattler getting his first win, moves up 5 spots to 26. The Browns dropped down 1. The Dolphins remain at 28. The Titans, after that unbelievable comeback against the Cardinals, move up 3 spots to 29. The Raiders down 5 to 30. Bengals to 31. And we have a new basement dweller, the lowest of the low. The 0-5 Jets moved down 2 spots to number 32.
On to London,
which, we talked about. Well, I'll be surprised if he gets sacked, but it's been a very disappointing team. I think I'll just jump in here. I think the 2 most disappointing teams for me have been the Raiders and the Jets this year. I had the Jets getting over the 5.5. I thought they could have pushed like 7 or 8 wins. I was confident in that O-line. That game against the Steelers felt like it was there for the win. Yeah. I'm curious if they'd won that game, things would be different? But it just feels like it was the same old Jets. And the Raiders, I had the Raiders at 31, more just because a few of these teams I can see like, there's hope in the future, and I can see where they're going. I think the Bengals are like missing Joe Burrow. The Titans have got number 1, a rookie QB.
Yeah.
The Raiders have got their full. They've got no excuses. They've got a new head coach. They've got the quarterback they wanted. It's not like they've had major injuries. I know they've had a few online, but who hasn't had injuries?
Yeah.
And I just don't know where they're going to go from here. They're 1-4. They had that victory against the Patriots first week. I thought, okay, this could be a fun, challenging, get to like 8 or 9 wins because it's Pete Carroll, it's Geno, and they've got some, they've got some good players. But it's just gone downhill. And I just don't know where. I don't see where they're going with this. So yeah, they're probably the 2 disappointing teams. 5 weeks in. Obviously, there's some other teams which I expected to be a little bit better, but when you look at this bottom 8, I was like, okay, I was expecting all of the probably except the Bengals. But obviously, when you lose your main quarterback, it doesn't go oh well, especially Joey Burrows. So yeah, I was surprised with the Saints being 24 for you, Byron. 24 is a lot higher just with after that one win, moving to like 1-4 and beating the Giants. Yeah, I was surprised you had them all the way up to 24.
Yeah, again, not with a huge amount of conviction really, but I think Spencer Rattler's been playing pretty well for expectations, especially. But I think he played well, especially against the Giants. I think the offense hasn't been overly bad. And yeah, I think they might grow into maybe win a couple more games this season. I'm not going to win. They're not going to go 500. But yeah, I'm not. I think Kellen Moore's doing a really good job of calling offense there, and yeah, just not totally hating it, I guess. What we're seeing, and they did get the win, which I think counts for a lot when it gets to this bunch of teams. Because yeah, if you beat your local rival, then I'm probably going to move you up. Your local relative to the power rankings. I mean, not local. Yeah, I'm going to move you up above them just because they're all pretty poor teams, and I couldn't agree more on the Raiders and the Jets. I had the Jets over 5.5 as one of my bets of the season. I think they've been unfortunate with turnover luck, which, but they've been unfortunate. It feels like every single week. So like at a certain point, I'm not just going to say, well, that's just bad luck. At a certain point, it's like it's poor execution, and you've got to iron that out. I do worry Aaron Glenn might be one and done. I don't want to get woke about it all. Black coaches have a hard time compared to white coaches in that regard. If a coach is going to go one and done, it more often is a black head coach. And the Jets are not the beacon of stability. So I wouldn't be surprised in any way if they get the number one pick, they get a new sexy offensive coordinator to come in and bye Aaron Glenn. I'm not sure that's really fair, but it's a result of business, like you say. And just, looking ahead a couple of years, are we going to look at Ashton Genty like we did Saquon Barkley on the Giants? Like, what were you picking a running back there for? Pete Carroll, wanted maybe the twilight of his career, wanted another crack at it. It's looking like an appalling hire, isn't it? He can't be a long-term solution there. He's the oldest coach in the NFL in year one. And if it's not going to hit now, I mean, what is the plan for the future? They haven't got a lot of draft picks coming up. They've got the regular package. Geno's not the future. I love the Geno story, but Geno looks half the player he did in Seattle. Brock Bowers is hobbling by this season. I would rest him till he's fit. Why don't trot him out there when he's not fit? Because what are you fighting for? You're not winning the division. You're not making the playoffs. Yeah, two very, very disappointing teams. Like you said, there's excuses for some other ones. And I have a bet on the Dolphins to be the worst record in the NFL. So I'm glad that now they're only, one game ahead of anybody. The Jets are obviously on 0, but the Dolphins are very much in the mix. So that's kind of like my rooting cause to the bottom of the table is just keep the Dolphins low.
Yeah, and the Raiders have got the Titans this week, so 29 versus 30. Ooh, sexy game. But yeah, it's I think it's just been the way they've lost as well. There've been some blowouts, some teams where you just like you pop a fight, which I think other teams have. And yeah, we'll see what happens with the Bengals with their new quarterback. Joe Flacco goes from one AFC North team. I don't know how bad of an indication that is if a rival within the division who's also has a terrible record trades a quarterback who was their starting quarterback to their rival who are also having a nightmare. So we'll see what happens. And you never know, the Steelers love a good old quarterback so that he might get picked up next year and he's completed the AFC North. So give it up for Joe Flacco. But yeah, that's our power rankings for week 6. Thank you for joining us as always. Remember to follow us across all the social platforms, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, YouTube, all the other ones at GTW_GTC, and you'll see our power rankings up as well. But yeah, like and comment, let us know where we've got it completely wrong, if you agree with Byron or mine and Paul's takes. But yeah, thank you for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow when we do our week 6 preview.
Cheers.